We all grew up hearing the same warnings. Oil will run out in 30 years. We must save energy and develop solar and wind power, or Earth's resources will be exhausted. By 2023, those kids from back then had become middle-aged uncles. Yet today, we're extracting more oil than ever, and prices have crashed multiple times. Was the whole oil depletion narrative a hoax? Today, let's talk about the fascinating history of petroleum. Humans discovered oil 5,000 years ago. But why was it so difficult to use back then? While today, nations fight over it and we keep digging up more. Before diving into history, we need to understand how petroleum is formed. In 1956, American geologist M. King Hubbert proposed the theory of peak oil. He predicted that U.S. oil production would peak around 1970 and then decline. He believed petroleum originates from ancient biological remains, dinosaurs, trilobites, ferns, and other organisms whose fossils accumulated, were buried, and transformed under high temperature and pressure deep underground. Therefore, oil is finite. This school of thought has faced significant controversy, yet it was still written into textbooks. It's the source of the warnings we heard as children. Oil will be exhausted within 50 years. Controversies surrounding the biogenic theory. First, there is no direct scientific evidence. We cannot replicate the process of turning plant and animal remains into petroleum in a laboratory. Second, substantial amounts of oil are found in geological strata that contain no biological material. Moreover, most biological remains are broken down and recycled by microbes, fungi, and bacteria, and are rarely preserved. How could enough organisms have been buried to produce billions of barrels of oil? This led to an alternative explanation, the abiogenic, inorganic theory. It posits that petroleum has nothing to do with biological remains. Instead, it is a mineral formed through chemical reactions from materials deep within the Earth. These substances have existed since the planet's formation, so oil reserves are far less limited. By drilling deeper wells, we could access more oil. However, the abiogenic theory also has major flaws. Few scientists fully endorse it. According to this theory, deeper drilling should yield more oil, but reality doesn't support that. It also fails to explain petroleum's complex chemical composition. In short, these two competing theories have debated for over a century, each with contradictions. The true origin of petroleum remains a mystery. Regardless of which is correct, humans discovered oil very early on. Yet the modern petroleum industry only began in the mid-19th century, and large-scale use as a critical energy source is barely more than 100 years old. Why is that? Ancient uses: asphalt as waterproofing and weapon. As early as 5,000 years ago, people knew about petroleum. Oil and gas would seep through cracks in the earth, emerging as sticky, dark liquids, or even forming natural asphalt lakes. This was how humans first obtained crude oil. This viscous substance was used to haft stone tools onto wooden handles. Beyond its adhesive properties, asphalt is highly waterproof, widely available, and durable. Ancient Chinese and Babylonians applied it to buildings and ships to prevent water seepage and seawater corrosion. Legend has it that Noah's Ark was coated inside and out with asphalt bitumen. Although asphalt doesn't ignite as readily as gasoline, it is a flammable semi-fluid that can be used for lighting. However, its extreme stickiness and the thick black smoke it produced when burned made it unpopular. It would blacken entire rooms. For roughly 5,000 years, petroleum primarily served as a waterproofing and adhesive agent. It was also occasionally used as a weapon. The Byzantine Empire's famous Greek fire was a flammable liquid that could burn on water. This secret weapon helped the empire repel numerous invasions and survive for 1,000 years. But that was about it. People didn't go to war over oil back then. The rise of oil as an energy source. Oil became so coveted because it evolved into a source of motive power. Throughout most of human history, energy conversion was a major challenge. People used fire for cooking and smelting, wind to propel ships, and water power to grind grain. Each had limitations. Firewood was needed for fire, wind depended on weather, and water required rivers. These energy sources couldn't easily be converted into one another. Wind could sail ships but not cook food, water could power mills but not provide portable energy. To convert energy flexibly, humans or animals were required, and they needed to eat first. This problem was solved with the invention of the steam engine. In simple terms, a steam engine burns fuel, such as coal, to generate heat, boils water to produce steam, and uses the steam to drive pistons in a back-and-forth motion, converting thermal energy into kinetic energy. Early steam engines were used to pump water out of mines, previously a back-breaking manual task. Later, they powered textile machines, cotton gins, and revolutionary steam locomotives. Steam trains were faster, carried more cargo, and were cheaper than horse-drawn carriages. The steam engine drove the Industrial Revolution. Humans then became obsessed with machines and engines that could convert various forms of energy. In 1846, Canadian Abraham Gessner invented a method to extract kerosene from coal. Soon after, in 1852, a simpler method was developed to extract kerosene from petroleum. Previously, lighting relied on expensive, inefficient whale oil or candles. Kerosene offered brighter light, was portable, and cheap. Petroleum's importance surged. It even helped save whales. No more need to harvest oil from their heads. Advances in drilling technology led to the birth of the first modern oil wells and refineries.
Demand grew, production soared, and the petroleum industry boomed, spawning many oil companies. At this stage, petroleum was mainly used to produce lamp fuel. It was important, but steam engines, burning fuel externally, remained the primary power source, suffering from significant energy loss and low efficiency. The internal combustion engine revolution. In 1876, German engineer Nicholas Otto invented the internal combustion engine, which burned fuel, initially kerosene, directly inside the cylinder. It was smaller, more powerful, required no preheating or cooling like steam engines, and suited modern industry and transportation perfectly. The steam engine era was coming to an end. However, kerosene's low energy density required large storage volumes, so early internal combustion engines were inefficient and never became widespread. With advances in refining and chemistry, scientists successfully extracted diesel and gasoline from petroleum. These had higher ignition points and burned faster, releasing more energy. In 1885, Gottlieb Daimler, co-founder of Mercedes-Benz, invented a gasoline-powered internal combustion engine.
The internal combustion engine, combined with electricity, drove the second industrial revolution. Technology advanced rapidly. Compact, highly efficient gasoline engines transformed transportation. Cars, motorcycles, ships, and aircraft proliferated. Together with electricity, they dramatically increased demand for petroleum. Oil surpassed coal to become the new king of energy, ushering in the petroleum age. Oil's geopolitical impact. Petroleum has not only fueled industrial and transportation revolutions, but also influenced the rise and fall of nations. After World War I, the Soviet Red Army captured Azerbaijan's Baku oil fields, which supplied 90% of the USSR's oil needs. During World War II, Hitler launched the Battle of Stalingrad largely to seize the Baku fields. The failure contributed to the collapse of the Third Reich. During the Cold War, the USSR faced severe economic problems in the late 1970s, but the 1973 oil crisis provided temporary relief, giving it another decade of life. Abundant oil wealth emboldened the Soviets, who even mocked struggling Western capitalist nations. When Ronald Reagan took office in 1981, and through clever policies, caused international oil prices to plummet to around $8 per barrel, it was devastating for the USSR and contributed to its eventual dissolution. After World War II, global economic recovery and pre-war chemical industry advances revealed petroleum's versatility beyond fuel. It could produce plastics, synthetic fibers, medicines, cosmetics, and more. Oil became the lifeblood of industry. With population booms and urbanization, modern life became inseparable from petroleum. Roughly half the world's oil reserves are concentrated in the Middle East, creating many petrol-rich nations. According to the Biogenic theory, billions of years ago, the Persian Gulf region teemed with marine life. Organic matter was trapped in sealed crustal layers, transformed over millions to hundreds of millions of years under heat and pressure. The Middle East provided ideal conditions. Located at tectonic plate boundaries, the area experienced crustal activity for tens of millions of years.
When the ancient seas receded, it became arid desert. Oil and gas were preserved deep underground without disturbance, and the crust later stabilized, creating excellent reservoirs. The region experiences relatively few earthquakes, which, per basic physics, could otherwise displace oil deeper. Its climate and terrain also make exploration and extraction cheaper. This is why, although oil exists worldwide, Middle Eastern oil is the most competitive. From colonial control to OPEC and crises. After World War II, Middle Eastern countries lacked technology and couldn't extract their oil. European companies, Dutch, British, Norwegian, Italian, etc., known as the Seven Sisters, monopolized production. At their peak in the 1970s, they controlled 85% of global reserves. As Middle Eastern nations grew wealthier and gained technical know-how, they asserted greater control. In 1960, led by Saudi Arabia, they formed OPEC, Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, to coordinate prices and protect member interests. Tensions boiled over during the 1973 Yom Kippur War, Fourth Arab-Israeli War. Israel faced a coalition of Arab states and received U.S. support. In retaliation, OPEC members imposed an oil embargo, causing prices to surge 300% and triggering a global economic crisis. After this event, many scholars again warned that oil was finite and would run out in 30 to 50 years. 50 years later, we still have plenty. Why? Economics explains why oil never truly runs out. From an economic perspective, oil will never be completely exhausted. When supply tightens, prices rise. At a certain point, people reduce consumption, seek alternatives, or make previously uneconomical high-cost fields viable. Before 2005, oil prices hovered between $20 to $40 per barrel. Saudi Arabia's production cost was under $10 per barrel, with output of 10 million barrels daily, extremely profitable. In 2008, prices spiked to a record $147 per barrel, enriching petrostates and making high-cost producers like Venezuela viable. Sky-high profits drove technological breakthroughs. America's shale oil emerged. Extracted from oil shale through complex processes, it required advanced technology and cost $40 to $60 per barrel, unprofitable at earlier $20 to $40 prices. High prices change that. Similarly, Canada's oil sands, bitumen from tar sands, are even harder to extract, costing $40 to $90 per barrel, but become economic when prices surge. Oil price spikes, such as the 1979 Iranian Revolution, 1990 Gulf War, 2003 Iraq invasion, and recent conflicts, have repeatedly made these resources worthwhile. Although prices eventually stabilize, technology keeps improving. Shale and oil sands costs have declined steadily, unlocking more supply. Beyond these, vast unconventional reserves remain untapped, including deep-sea oil and reserves in permafrost, technically challenging and expensive, but potentially enormous. In short, low prices once made high-cost oil uneconomical. Rising prices and advancing technology bring it online. Meanwhile, alternatives like electric vehicles charged with renewables reduce demand, creating the perception that oil is inexhaustible. Electric vehicles, not actually new technology. Electric vehicles aren't a 21st century invention. Their history predates gasoline cars. From the late 19th century to the early 1910s, horse-drawn carriages, steam cars, electric cars, and gasoline cars coexisted. Carriages were phased out first. Manufacturers hedged by producing multiple types. By 1910, steam engines faded. 5 years later, expensive electric cars lost to gasoline models. Gasoline engines won and dominated for over a century. Petroleum is convenient, but it is finite. And more critically, fossil fuels emit massive greenhouse gases, driving global warming and climate change. Humanity has been seeking replacements. This is the energy transition. A century later, battery breakthroughs enabled electric vehicles' comeback. Tesla, founded in 2003, dramatically lowered battery costs through process improvements and became the leader. By 2022, EVs accounted for a record 10% of new car sales, signaling the dawn of the new energy era. Taiwan's energy transition and the role of Commonwealth magazine. Taiwan imports 98% of its energy, and as an island nation, cannot easily import electricity from neighbors. Energy transition is a national priority.
Commonwealth magazine has published in-depth series on this. It notes that Taiwan's energy transition journey spans 40 years. In 1985, Commonwealth featured reports on enterprises. That year, a former shoe manufacturer, Hung Lung Shoe Company, entered automotive electronics and established Hung Lung Electric. Like many others, shoemakers, clothing firms, tennis racket producers, and plastic boat manufacturers, Taiwan's nimble SMEs pivoted to emerging electronics with remarkable flexibility and resilience. 40 years later, many of those production lines supply Tesla's global chain, positioning Taiwan for the new century. Taiwan had made forward-looking moves as early as 1985. In 2005, Tesla's then CTO and co-founder J.B. Straubel visited Taiwan to source components for the company's first roadster. They partnered with Fuden Motor in Taichung, a small firm with fewer than 80 employees at the time. Fuden became Tesla's first Taiwanese supplier, providing motors. Other firms like Formosa Plastics affiliates were also early partners.
Although Tesla later shifted production back to the US and closed its Taiwan office around 2009, today 75% of Tesla's components are still manufactured by Taiwanese suppliers, including electrical systems, motors, batteries, body parts, and charging systems, some exclusively. Electric vehicles are the rising star of new energy. Taiwan's late business legend Wang Yongqing, founder of Formosa Plastics, foresaw this in 1997, calling EVs a genesis business and the mainstream of the next century. His group invested in auto manufacturing and battery R&D, though results were mixed, one of his few business regrets. Last year, Formosa Plastics announced a comeback, investing NT $16 billion to build Taiwan's largest battery facility within 2 years, fulfilling Wang's vision. Lithium is the key raw material for lithium-ion batteries, vital for EVs, consumer electronics, phones, laptops, tablets, alloys, and chemicals. It has been called the white gold of our era. 40 years ago, Commonwealth magazine recognized the importance of the energy shift. 40 years later, it remains a critical issue for Taiwan. Although Tesla later shifted production back to the US and closed its Taiwan office around 2009, today 75% of Tesla's components are still manufactured by Taiwanese suppliers, including electrical systems, motors, batteries, body parts, and charging systems, some exclusively. Electric vehicles are the rising star of new energy. Taiwan's late business legend Wang Yongqing, founder of Formosa Plastics, foresaw this in 1997, calling EVs a genesis business and the mainstream of the next century. His group invested in auto manufacturing and battery R&D, though results were mixed, one of his few business regrets. Last year, Formosa Plastics announced a comeback, investing NT $16 billion to build Taiwan's largest battery facility within 2 years, fulfilling Wang's vision. Lithium is the key raw material for lithium-ion batteries, vital for EVs, consumer electronics, phones, laptops, tablets, alloys, and chemicals. It has been called the white gold of our era. 40 years ago, Commonwealth magazine recognized the importance of the energy shift. 40 years later, it remains a critical issue for Taiwan. In February this year, Commonwealth sent special correspondents to Chile, one of the world's largest lithium producers, nearly half of global output. They were the first Taiwanese media to deeply report from Chilean lithium mining areas. With a population smaller than Taiwan's, Chile's lithium will power the projected 350 million electric vehicles worldwide by 2030. The reporters visited the mining hub of Calama in northern Chile and observed how the world's largest lithium companies extract white gold from desert salt lakes. Commonwealth magazine was founded in 1981. For 42 years, it has chronicled Taiwan's story, politics, economy, energy transition, international relations, providing comprehensive, in-depth coverage. It helps Taiwanese understand our rapidly changing world. Looking back at 1985 through its pages, it was an era of get-rich-quick dreams. Dajiaolei, a popular lottery-style game, swept the nation. People dreamed of striking it rich with small bets of 300 to 500 NT. Yet 1985 also saw compassion. In response to the devastating Ethiopian famine the previous year, which killed millions, global musicians united.
Britain's Band-Aid released Do They Know It's Christmas? And the USA for Africa project, led by Michael Jackson, produced We Are the World. Both became massive hits that raised funds and awareness. In Taiwan, over 60 pop stars collaborated on Lo Ta Yu's Tomorrow Will Be Better, the most successful Mandarin charity song ever. It has since been sung at countless uplifting occasions. 1985 was a conservative yet vibrant society. Despite hardships, people instinctively believed tomorrow will be better.